All right, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you again for joining us here today. We are very excited to present to you our work with the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance Sustainability Pledge. So to kick us off, I'll give us a brief project overview as well as an introduction to myself and my teammates. So my name is Katie Barr. I am a master's student at the School for Environment and Sustainability, and I'm here with my lovely team who will introduce themselves individually.
And I'm Alicia Adams with the Urban and Regional Planning Program.
I'm Naomi Barker, third year at the Herb Institute.
I'm Celia Brevard, second year at the Herb Institute.
I'm Anna Seifert, a second year dual with the School of Policy and the School of Business.
We also had the pleasure of working with Dr. Raymond DeYoung, who is an associate professor at the School for Environment and Sustainability as our faculty advisor, as well as Jennifer Prinsing from the Dow team. So to highlight some key partners that we worked with, of course, we worked with the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance, but we also worked with Delta College, and we are honored and excited to have a member of Delta College here with us today. Pam, thank you so much for being here and for supporting us throughout this process. So we wanted to just ground us all in the overall mission of our project, which kind of highlighted our overall goals. And essentially it was that we as the Fellows collaborated with our pledge partners to develop and refine a customized and adaptive self-evaluative and sustainability roadmap for pilot organizations. And not only did this encompass our overall goal for our project, but it also helped us to develop and strengthen our relationships both with our partner and with our pilot organizations. So speaking of our pilot organizations, we worked in tandem with our partner and in alignment with our mission to select 7 organizations sourced directly from the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance. Each of these organizations represented a broad distribution of size, industry, and operational scale as well. And we felt very privileged to work with a number of public, private, and institutional stakeholders for this project. So how do we develop a sustainability roadmap? Well, we came up with a 3-step process that involved visioning, research, and assessment that took place over the spring, summer, and fall, respectively. So we'll take a few minutes now to dive into that process and talk about how we developed a sustainability roadmap.
Great, thanks, Katie. So as we began our project design process in the spring, we really wanted to make sure that we were understanding and assessing the specific goals and needs of both our client and our pilot organizations. And we were able to do that through a series of visioning sessions that took place on an online platform called Jamboard. You'll see a screenshot of one of our client visioning sessions right here. So how Jamboard works is we ask some open-ended questions, and our clients were able to respond on these different sticky notes. And then as a team, we were able to go through and bucket those responses to identify some key themes as to what was really important for a sustainable and productive sustainability pledge. So you can see here we talked a lot about long-term governance. We talked a lot about the specific cultural context of the region in which we were working. We also conducted these visioning sessions with our pilot organizations, and we really used these to identify any existing sustainability metrics, sustainability goals, and mission alignment in terms of their leadership's priorities and their organization's mission statements.
Great, so then the bulk of the summer we really spent on research, and I'll walk through what that looked like. So over the summer, we bucketed our research into these different subcategories based on the themes that we had elicited from the visioning sessions with not only our client, but also our pilot organization. We also aligned each of these subcategories with the UN SDGs and each of our individual fields of study, knowing that we have a diverse interdisciplinary team. And so over the summer, we were able to compile over 100 different resources in these different categories, ranging from sustainability strategy and people organization to climate, renewable energy, water, and waste. And so in each of these, we have the resource name, we have some specific tags for that resource, a high, medium, low complexity of implementation, a description of how to use the resource, and then finally a link that you could access the resource. We've ensured that all of these are free and they're able to be accessed by the general public. And this will serve as a great sustainability hub of all of these resources going forward with access to GLBRA, Delta College, and future pilot organizations.
So following the visioning and research phases, we got into the assessment phase. So it's important to note that the assessment was not intended to assign a score to where organizations are at with their sustainability journey. It was intended to establish a baseline for that journey. We created the assessment in Google Forms, again, taking advantage of free and accessible apps and programs, and used the information and that input that we received to create a sustainability roadmap. Each one of these documents is curated to the organization based on their responses in the visioning sessions and their responses in the assessment, and looks at topics of sustainability strategy, climate, purchased goods, waste, water, people, and energy. Within each of these subjects, we have an example here, the climate page. These are curated resources, again, that are responding to where that organization is at. It establishes an overview of the topic, a case for why this is important, recommendations for getting started, resources that Celia covered nicely, and room to establish SMART goals. Again, this is a document that is created for the organization and will be a tool for them, hopefully, as they move forward.
So while we were able to accomplish quite a lot in the span of a year, there is obviously always more to do. So in addition to the work that we completed over the past year, the team also identified 5 key areas of work that we are hopeful a 2022 Dow team will be able to take on and carry forward. Obviously, as stated previously, our goal with the Sustainability Pledge is to create something that's adaptive. It's a living, breathing process with living, breathing documents for these organizations. So moving forward, we hope that future teams will be able to work with the GLBRA to ensure that there is equitable and sustainable access to resources and reliable access to those resources. We also want to formalize the governance structure of the GLBRA Sustainability Pledge itself to make sure that there's robust support for participating organizations moving forward. We also, of course, believe that this pledge has a power to be a really transformative force for good across organizations in the Great Lakes Bay region. And so looking at that through that lens, awareness and impact is absolutely critical to making sure that this pledge survives and thrives in the future. Finally, of course, there is always the maintenance of accountability for participating organizations. So establishing reporting mechanisms for organizations to report on their progress and their challenges is going to be absolutely critical. And sustainability is a fluctuating thing. As we know, there's always new research, there's always innovation and changes to be aware of. So keeping that research updated will be absolutely critical. And of course, we want to take a moment to thank the Dow Sustainability Fellows program, the Dow Company Foundation in particular, and of course, our amazing clients. It was a joy to work with you. We would welcome any of your questions at this time.
That was wonderful. And you can tell this group is really organized. They have dressed in matching clothes and matching masks. So the next team will have big shoes to fill. Questions starting with Sarah Mills.
Great presentation. I'm curious, when you were pulling together the resources or even thinking about your guidebook, how many of those do you think are specific to the region? And how many do you think could be applicable throughout Michigan or beyond?
I can jump in really quickly. So we intentionally chose a variety of regional resources and national resources, because not only thinking about where the companies are here, but where their operations may be spread across the United States. So for water specifically, we know that's very important for this specific region, and we have specific water resources, in addition to a couple other that Alicia had access to through former work that she's done, that are but specifically targeted for Michigan.
Others. Yes.
You worked with a diversity of organizations in the 7 that you worked with. Can you talk about how you tailored your approach to each one, or if you did?
I can take this one, at least a first stab. So the first thing I'll say is that the list of pilot organizations was curated by GLBRA and Delta College. So there was a pre-existing relationship established with all of those organizations. When it comes to tailoring the approach, I think the most critical thing that we did really was those visioning sessions early on, because of course, Midland Center for the Arts is going to have a completely different set of sustainability goals and requirements than Michigan Sugar. And so by having those visioning sessions early, we were then able to make sure that our research over the course of the project captured what that organization specifically needed to know. And of course, the final product is customized and tailored to that pilot organization.
Sorry. So specifically for, let's say the organization already had greenhouse gas goals, we would then encourage them to look at net zero or additional science-based targets. If the organization did not have a greenhouse gas goal, we started with GHG 101. And so really based on their assessment and what they had and didn't have, we tailored the resources based on the high, medium, low complexity and implementation so that they felt supported not only in terms of education, but a tangible next step that they could take on their sustainability journey.
So you met them where they were.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Hi, Pam Clark from Delta College. We love these ladies. They've done great work. But if you could address, I know it was a little bit of a struggle since we were all on Zoom, and we had really a variety of those organizations. If a second year were to be done, a lot of the research is already done, so we could start faster. Are there particular sizes or types of organizations that are harder to work with or easier to work with because of their pre-existing understanding, maybe?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think that through this process, what we really wanted to continually emphasize with the organizations that we were collaborating with was that there is no assumption of a baseline understanding or current operations of sustainability. We know that there are sometimes barriers internally and externally to adopting sustainability goals. And so that was actually built into the survey, understanding kind of what the appetite is internally and how this relates to their external relationships with their partners, with their consumers and clients. I think that the organizations that we would really like to get on board are continuing to expand the diversity of organizations to build that network so that there are more points of reference for participants, but really focusing on kind of the hard to reach organizations, those that may have that barrier, that may feel that they don't have enough experience, to really reassure them that this is open to everybody and that we really want more participation and that the best way to get experience is just to get started.
I think we have time for another question, if there is one. Sarah again?
This is a really cool project. I'm super excited to know about this because one of the things that we've been doing at GRAM is working with communities across the state to try to get them to take the next best step. So I'm curious, how much do you think you as consultants, right, walking them through the process is important versus how much of this can be learned through a guide? If you can talk to that a little bit.
I can take that question a little bit. I think in this initial year, us being on board and engaging with those organizations was really important. But ultimately, talking again about that long-term governance strategy, we would love for there to be no consultants at all and for this to be totally self-run. One topic that we've talked a lot about is using that network. So not having us as students, as consultants being there, but pilot organizations that have more experience coming in and sharing their internal knowledge with other newer pilot organizations. I think that's the ultimate goal. I think that guides are really helpful, but ultimately those conversations, that experience, that knowledge makes this really valuable.
Great. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone.